Go. Good evening. My name is Jonathan Lax. I'm a student in the Roger Williams School of Continuing Studies and the Community Development Program. I'm a title examiner by trade, and that means that I am an unindictable accomplice to the great housing bubble that affected the country from between 2002 to 2008, and I was a senior title examiner for a law firm that closed deals for one of the more notorious subprime lenders. So yes, I know exactly how abandoned properties happen both in Rhode Island and throughout the country. So, a few years ago, I decided to do a bit of reinvention. I enrolled in the Roger Williams Community Development Program after doing an internship at the Housing Network of Rhode Island. And I settled on a project for my Geographical Information Systems class of mapping out all the abandoned properties in Providence. I was working with the Director of Municipal Affairs, Brian Hull, and together we managed to pull together 5 or 6 of the various lists that have been going around in the City Hall. And we managed to pull them all together, remove the duplicates, and then I did a data extraction which resulted in getting most of the location data as well as the assessment data for the list that we have, which is at this point 1,214. You should understand that that figure is an estimate, as almost 700 of those properties were based on a 2012 waste collection survey. When I did the data extraction, I noticed that there was a number of fields that needed to be corrected by hand, and as I was doing so, I noticed that there had been changes in ownership. So I actually color-coded those as unconfirmed. So when I say that it's around 1,200, you should think 1,200, give or take 125 in either direction. As I'm talking right now, probably somebody is buying one of those properties, and correspondingly, somebody's walking away from another one. In any event, it's around the number of those abandoned properties are around 1,200. Of those 1,200, it results in 1,593 housing units that we've identified and managed to locate on a map. And we're talking about assessed value of over 160 million. And as far as the revenue to the city, this represents over $3.6 million. So what we accomplished is we managed to get all this data together. We managed to get it by geographical geospatial analysis onto a map. And we also managed to put in there community assets, such as bus routes, community organizations, schools, parks, and things like health centers and things like that. Because the point I want to make here is that when you try to rehab these properties and get them back into the community, it's not enough to just simply rehab them. You really want to mobilize them and pick out the properties that are nearest community assets, which basically add value to the property, but also serve as resources to get them reintegrated back into the neighborhood. And it's really, really important to actually involve community organizations such as the Elmwood Neighborhood Association. They contacted me in about the final month of my internship, and they had wonderful data because they've been sending three people out every day for a couple of weeks to basically locate abandoned properties. And I would have to say that what they came up with was really good stuff. So, in addition to mapping out all these things, I'm now, because of the geodatabase in there, able to generate reports about the housing, about the abandoned properties based on the location, the assessed value. I can break it down by ward and by neighborhood. In addition, I created an online map, an online interactive map where anybody can actually go and get information about these things, and also note the community assets such as bus lines and schools. So that was my project right here, and right now we're in the Global Heritage Hall. My professor, Professor Mark Brinkley, liked my project so much that he actually nominated it to be included for basically being shown at the donor volunteer reception, which we're outside right now. They're setting up as we speak. And this is a reception that's being hosted by President Farish, and my project's going to be here. I'm very, very pleased with it, and I hope you like it too. The origins of this whole project began really in January of 2013 when I enrolled in the community development program and people found out I was a title examiner, everybody says, you have to talk to Judge Alorza, you have to talk to Judge Alorza. And I was like, who's Judge Alorza? Well, it was Judge Jorge Alorza of the Providence Housing Court. And, you know, I'm outside his office and I'm overhearing him chewing out a lawyer from New York City, basically insisting that if, you know, the guy's not in his courtroom, he's going to hold him in contempt. I mean, I thought it was a great. So we had a meeting, we talked, and he was talking about the challenges that he has as a judge, discovering who the owners were, who owned the mortgages of the properties that were coming up before these things. And one way or another, we were always trying to figure a way to use my research skills in, you know, my work at the community development program. And one way or another, that was always like my guiding thing through my courses in sustainable community development, developing affordable housing. You know, it was just something I was always turning to. And one thing that my advisor and my mentor, Eric Jacobs, who's now the director of the community development program, said is that, you know what, I think the thing for you to do is to become a bridge person. You know more law than almost all the community development people because of your title examining, and you know more community development than any lawyer. So what you should do is be a bridge person, but to round that out, you need to know technology. So we basically, I started coming to this campus to take basically computer courses, and this is topped off my GIS class here, my Geographical Information Systems, with Professor Mark Brinkley. And this is basically culminated in this map right here. This is an interactive map that people will be able to access online. And I basically have geocoded all 1,200 of these properties right here. You can go under just about any one of these properties right here. And basically, with the touch of the thing, you can basically get this pop-up menu, which gives you basically the location information, the tax value, the bill number, and what kind of property it is. This is a 260 Amherst Street. It's a two-family home. It's a little over $96,000. The nice thing too is that all the data is linked by panels. So you basically hit this thing right here, and now we have basically the data on the neighborhood itself. We now know that there's 77 abandoned properties and there's about 110 housing units, and it adds up to almost $5 million. Another thing, we also, as you can see here, I've got the bus schedules on here, because as I said before up there, you have to think in terms of community assets that can integrate these things into properties. And what else have we got here? We also have very often adjoining properties right there. This is a vacant lot that's actually near that last one. And here is another, this is a 6-unit apartment building that's on 282 Matin Avenue. So the data is very good for accessing stuff about the things. And I can also write, basically I can generate property reports throughout the entire thing. Come on. In addition, you can also access school information too. Right here. Said before here. It's going to be particularly important for Jorge's plan for basically full-service schools. It's going to play a big role in basically getting these projects back into the community. So, and let's zoom out a bit. Okay. Anything else? Okay. You'll be able to access this because pretty soon I'm going to be launching my blog, Reclaim RI. And it's going to take, this thing will have a permanent page right here. And I'm hoping to get actually some grant work and all that sort of thing so I can update this thing and expand the data sets to include ownership and housing code violations and things of that nature. So stay tuned, the fun is just beginning.